No.
Yeah.
All right, good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Boy, we haven't had this many people in the audience for combined the last 12 months, have we?
Nice to see.
That's nice.
Nice
Great.
time of year.
Good, thank you for coming. Okay, I'd like to call to order the City of Lawrenceburg Board of Works meeting tonight for February 6, 2023. Can I get a roll call, Mr. Fetty?
We got board member Tony Abbott.
Here.
Board member Tommy Roulette.
Present.
We got city attorney Del Weldon. We got president Kelly Milan.
Here.
And myself.
Okay, any announcements for this meeting, guys? I don't have anything for this one.
I have none.
I have none either, Mayor.
All right, if not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the previous meeting.
So moved.
Second,
I'll second it, Mayor.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, next item I'd like to bring up is, as you guys know, we've we hired a Veritas group to oversee the 6 different projects that we got going on, the smaller projects that we're having trouble getting bidders on, and we're at the point of that project where they're ready to make a recommendation on the construction manager, and there were 4 respondents, and they interviewed 2 of those based upon qualifications, and the recommendation from Veritas to the City of Lawrenceburg is to select Maxwell Construction for the projects. You guys have a letter with their recommendation, I believe, in your packet.
From
Yes.
HWC Engineering, yes.
Any questions? If no questions on that, oh, go ahead, Tony.
I
Yes.
said I had none.
Okay. If no questions, I'll entertain a motion to approve the CMC recommendation for downtown, for the projects to be Maxwell Construction.
So moved.
I'll second it, Mayor.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Now, one question I would have
Motion
after
carried.
that is, what's the next step?
Next step is now they can go out and start getting pricing for us.
Can we get in that motion recommendation to the city council with a favorable?
Correct.
Yeah, we
Does
do
go
have
to
that.
council.
We do have that on city council.
Thank you,
for-
Mr. Todd.
Yeah. I'll just get it in a separate motion. Can I get a separate motion to approve, or to send on the recommendation of Maxwell Construction for the 6 projects to city council?
So move.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
I do have one question though. I know on the pavement, this does not include Center Street crosswalks, the bricks. You know, we
That has
talked
not-
about
That's not
redoing
on this
those,
that's not this project.
but what's the timeline on those? Do you have any idea when we'll be doing that?
That's, we're gonna be talking about that about 4 items down,
Oh, okay.
crosswalk. The crosswalk project.
Alrighty.
That's a separate project.
Yeah.
But it'll be coming up here. We'll be talking about it right here. So,
Your Honor, we have Mr. Rainey to answer. Mr.
Yes, if
Willet's
you would,
question.
please, so we can understand this process.
Yeah, so now that we have the CMC on board, the next steps really are to get them engaged in pricing. So we've got several proposed designs that we need to review, and so we can convey the right information and know the cost for these projects. We'll get them engaged immediately to start with that process. Once that happens, then we can make any changes we need to or right-size the projects, but I think we're in a pretty good spot. And then they'll continue to work in tandem with design, looking at means and methods as we continue through design until we can get to a GMP, which that would be, of course, after we get bids and everything else. So
So the last process would be the GMP, guaranteed maximum pricing.
as we come out of design and get ready to go into construction, we would get a GMP from Maxwell Construction, guaranteed maximum price. Okay.
So, just real quick, so with the CMC is, I noticed that it's a percent, they get a percent. Is that of the projects, the final pricing of the project, or?
CMC typically will have a percent-based fee on the project itself, Yes.
Just if the project is completed, or basically just whatever the.
That's their
estimated-
fee. It's a CMC fee is what that's their fee on top of the guaranteed maximum price. If that makes sense.
No, it doesn't. So you're just saying it's a percent of the total project?
It's a percent of the project costs,
Percent of the project cost?
yeah, which will be
And that's
established
if we go forward with the project?
if you go forward with the project.
Okay.
Right now, we are only in the scoping period, so they're going to be providing budget updates, et cetera, through us. When we actually go into the CMC and accept that guaranteed maximum price is when we go into contract fully with
Okay.
the CMC.
And what I read from the minutes of the Board of Works on November 21st, 2022, going back to your question, CM fee will be a scoping fee, if any, and then a percentage fee, is what I remember. Correct?
Well, they have a fee, traditionally, they have a fee before and after. So they have a fee for the initial phase, it's a flat fee, and then their fee for the project, and a percentage fee. So they have two fees. Architect will only have one fee, design professional.
Yeah, I was just trying to get some numbers in my head a little bit, just for the
Yeah.
budget and stuff.
Think of it like 6 separate projects.
Yeah,
And then how we've always done projects
just
and where the fees.
percents of the projects and
Yeah.
stuff, so.
Yeah,
And remember, we've consolidated
yeah.
the design phase, so they're designing so think the pre-construction phase is consolidated. They're doing projects in groups rather than getting a fee for each individual one. So that's a cost savings.
That's where our cost savings should come.
Sorry if I wasn't concise enough on my answer.
No, that's fine.
So-
I was just trying to get some numbers.
Any other questions?
No, I'm good.
That's all I have, Mayor.
Anything else, guys?
No.
All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
David.
Okay, next item is the OOR procurement contract award. That's the owner-occupied rehab project. We only had one respondent on this process, and that was ARA. Myself, Mr. Rolette, Judy McAdams, and who else?
Brian,
And Brian Messmore interviewed ARA last week and did our scoring and such, and found them to be more than qualified to handle this again. So I guess what I want to do tonight is make a recommendation or ask for a motion on the recommendation to go into contract with ARA to be the overseer of the owner-occupied rehab projects that we have going on. I think currently we're looking at 15 homes?
15, but the goal will be 18 to 20.
Yeah,
We will get paid for 15, anything beyond that, we just,
based upon whatever money's left, correct?
yes.
And Mr. Mayor, could you share a brief history on ARA, just as far as our involvement with them? Just
Yeah, ARA's been doing this for quite some time with us. Every time we've applied, I think they've been the, I don't know what the correct word is, to facilitator of it, if I. Administrator of it. Good, better word.
I know you've done it for probably the last 15 years at least. Back
Yeah, it's been,
quite a few administrations back.
I'd say we're on our 50th anniversary this year. So they've been doing it for quite some time, but yes, through Lawrenceburg, I know at least 15 to 20.
Since 92.
Yep.
I think this particular year, we applied for 250,000, and then the city's match to that is 10%. So we paid 25,000,
That's 27.7.
what, yeah, close to it anyway. And that doesn't sound like 10%, does it? But anyway, and it's a great grant, and it helps, every time we're helping 15 to 17, 18 different homeowners get things done at their houses where they normally wouldn't been able to do
Yep.
that. So it's a good program.
thanks.
So I guess tonight, any more questions,
I
guys?
have none.
If not, I'd entertain a motion to approve to go in with ARA as the OOR procurement award winner.
So move, Mayor.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Chief Tremaine, SCBA.
How we doing?
Okay, did you put anything in our,
Well, I did, but then I talked to Attorney Weldon, and he wanted me to do a different format.
Yeah, if it pleases the Board of Public Works and Safety, so we had a kind of a interesting situation where we are in a position to get some new equipment, replace some existing equipment with breathing apparatus and related equipment. Chief Tremaine approached it as the highest priority being that we purchase equipment that's compatible with what we already have so that we can replace some of the apparatus as we go, but also replace them in their entirety if it becomes necessary. And so we were able to identify vendors who sell this type of product, and because we were able to have 3 or more, then we thought it would be important to follow the public bidding statute in regard to seeking out 3 quotes, but also with the understanding that number 1 on our priority list was to get something that's compatible. So we didn't have to, we thought maybe we would be stuck doing a single source, but we were able to find 3 to solicit quotes from, so we were able to do both. And
Yeah,
I
just-
appreciate Chief Tremaine doing that.
And one thing I found out was Donnelly and Vogelpool, which are 2 of them that quoted, actually have this territory. So, and then one of the other guys set me up with fire department service and supply. So right now, what you have in front of you is Vogelpool, Donnelly, and fire department sales and service, with Vogelpool being the lowest. They are apples to apples. The big thing I was looking through with Vogelpool, why they're so much lower, was they was able to offer buy one get one free on the air bottles. So that's how they come in considerable amount lower. But anyway, we're to the point where we got to start replacing. We bought some apparatus a few years ago that were demos. So we're to the point where we need to start phasing out the old and bringing in the new. So during our capital expenditure meeting, we elected to do about half of them this year and half of them next year. So that's why there's 9 there, and I just need your approval to go ahead and, I would recommend going with Vogelpool. I mean, we saving $5,000 or $6,000 there, so.
I appreciate you getting the 3 bids, Chief.
Yeah,
Yes.
I do too. It's nice to see.
Any questions for Chief Tremaine?
And that money is did you say it's coming out of capital, or is this
Yeah.
something we?
Yeah, it's budgeted money, out of our capital plan, yep.
Yeah, he planned for this.
Right, I believe,
Half this year and I think half next.
Yeah.
I do believe I remember that, yes,
Yeah.
when we were in the meeting.
Any other questions for Chief?
I have none.
If not, then I'll entertain a motion to approve Vogelpool fire equipment for the price of $78,520.99 for SCBA equipment.
I'll make that motion.
Second?
I'll second it, Mayor.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. How long
Thank
does
you.
it take to get that in, Chief?
I think they actually have them in stock.
Oh, do they?
They just got to order some masks.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next, Mario, we got the bid award for downtown crosswalk project.
Yes, Your Honor. Back on January 19th, we received bids for 4 locations throughout Lawrenceburg, with an upgrade at Tate and Walnut with a bump out. What we mean by that, kind of get the sidewalk out a little bit further so you see pedestrians crossing. And also we'll upgrade the other 3 locations in ADA needs. We had 3 bidders participate. One was S&J Contractors at $523,000, Dave O'Meara at $494,000, and All-Star Paving at $603,000. And I think legal has reviewed all the bid tabulations, along with the recommendation letter from HWC, which would have Dave O'Meara, the low bidder, at $494,000.
Now, along with that bump out again, just to reiterate, that is also doing the crosswalks at Tate Street, Center Street, High Street, and Vine, correct?
Correct.
All four
Correct.
areas with them.
And that will be with the brick pavers?
Yes.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, may I interject? Or may I comment? I just because this is first that we've seen the bump out section, I would have loved to have been a little bit more of a part of maybe talking through what that design might look like. This is a permanent fixture that's going to go. We knew the crosswalks were there, with the zones. We're going to make sure that those are accessible with the ADA, but as far as the bump out, it's significantly different than when we had first talked about doing the bump outs than what I maybe had envisioned.
What did you think it was?
I thought I'd envisioned two, and I understand that the constraint that we have with the fire truck turning there, that's a significant factor with Chief Tremaine, that's the main thoroughfare that's coming out there. But we didn't really talk through any different iterations of design of what that might look like. My highest priority, and even mentioning it however many months ago when we talked about doing bump outs there, is that
Safety.
we're shortening that path. That there's, I don't know how many dozens of kids cross that coming from Central after school, right across Walnut Street at Tate. That is a heavily trafficked area. There's kids that come through the tunnel, and then they cross that heading home or whatever that might be. I had envisioned it significantly differently. I know that you guys this is Board of Works, you're accepting a bid, but this is, accept that bid, that this is what we got. And this is the first that we've seen of it.
Are you concerned about the other side of the street?
I thought we were going to be a little bit more balanced, and I don't know, just looking at it from right here, it just kind of looks like I know it's going to be effective with what we see, but not necessarily aesthetic, maybe. I know we want, the highest priority is safety, but I don't know if this could be lessened and one added kind of mirroring on the other side, or potentially those bump outs could have been done on the other side of the street, because it's going to naturally choke it down, and we got to get the stop sign farther out so people see it. It's going to naturally choke it down, which is going to be a calming effect to that traffic, because they're running that stop sign both directions.
Right, but if you're headed south on Walnut, you can see the left side of the crosswalk, where you can't see the right side due to the cars.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So your high vis is, again,
Yeah, it's just kind of took me by surprise. So I just, that was, was a little different than what I had envisioned it.
Well, we can go back and have it, we can look at doing both sides. The only issue I see with that is when you're going north on Walnut this way, and if you got a bump out here, across Tate, you're going to choke that down to where I think it's going to be awful close when you got two cars going at the same time. That's the only thing I see.
Yeah.
Where but I understand what you're saying, that you want to minimize the amount of walking in the street for
Right.
kids. I
Well,
get
I also
that
think
piece.
that the choking down, part of that is giving
Yeah.
that calming effect, that it's naturally, everything's coming in, it's slowing cars down, and they're considering, especially that area is spot on. We need to get that stop sign out when they're coming
Correct.
south, because people are just blazing through that.
Correct.
But they're also blazing through going north, because they go right by the police department, no cops outside, just keep on going.
Yeah.
And we see it every day, and that's where there's a lot of children still walking at the Wesleyan Church there,
Yeah.
coming across, and it's not necessarily even the people there, because they can see the kids looking from the left. It's the people coming.
So even if we didn't do
Northbound.
a full 10-foot bump out or whatever,
This one seems extreme, honestly, if looking at it, because it comes all the way out to within, it's,
well, it's at the end of your car length. That's what you want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
right. It looks like it even goes beyond that, where the
No,
cars are
it's-
parked in there, so.
It's just about to protect similar to the bump outs we have on South Walnut Street.
Yeah, so,
but I think
yeah.
we could, I don't know why we couldn't do another bump out on the other side, but not as far out.
Yeah, I agree. I had thought it was going to be a little bit more balanced, and I see what you're saying too. Is that a gutter and curb.
And, yeah.
Yeah, that's what
Yeah.
I'm,
Yeah, you're
So
looking,
I'm seeing at the outside of the
Yes.
gutter, it
No.
looks like it's sticking,
that's
pretty
part of the roadway surface.
But that's that's the concrete, and you're not gonna be driving on that anyway, so.
But if you do a bump out on the other side, you have to come out the full length. You can't come out half, because then you're running into the parked cars.
I'm sure there's best
The
practices.
bump
on
outs,
width of
bump
the-
outs are the same size as your parked car. That way the cars can go straight. If you only do it half, the car's gonna have to go and then go around the parked cars.
Well, they're still gonna stay close to the double yellow regardless. I mean, they're not gonna be veering off there. I mean, they're not veering off and hitting cars now, so that, I don't know why that would change.
How
It would be
wide?
sort of the same as what you got right now, I mean, as far as missing
No.
those cars, but, I think, but.
I mean, do we have any other, the only other bump out I can think about right now is the one-way street here. We have two bump outs on both sides.
Correct.
Right here, and it's balanced, and obviously now we got stops on there. People ran that one as well. But I was just thinking something a little bit more balanced.
And they do, per this contract, have flashing stop signs
Yeah.
at those intersections.
Oh,
So
like
that
the
should
one up here at Williams?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think we need to, I mean, it'd be helpful if we addressed the northbound traffic as well at the same time. And maybe that giant bump out's gonna be enough calming effect that it's gonna slow people down coming north, but.
How about if we do this then? Why don't we can get a price on doing that, adding it. How's that? Adding that piece, okay? And then bring that back to Board of Works Council. And if we want to do that, we'll add it to the project.
I mean, I'd be curious to what the recommendations would be from, is it HWC Engineering, what the recommendations if it were reconfigured a little bit, so this is just.
And we talked about it. I mean, at one time, it had a bump out on the other side, but it just wasn't big truck friendly to.
Right, yeah. I know these are very difficult, especially in biggest consideration is the fire truck, just trying to make that turn if somebody's sitting there. I mean, I know it's gonna be challenging, so I don't know what,
I think that's why HWC engineered against, or not against it, but around it, I think.
yeah.
and correct me if I'm wrong, that was a recommendation of yours too, Mr. Todd, wasn't it? Just to do it on the one side for
Correct,
a particular
correct.
reason.
Yeah.
I remember us
So-
discussing that. This is the first I've seen of this
Yeah,
rendering as well.
I mean, we could add, I would love to have this discussion before, obviously, but. I mean, I don't know what the difference between a bump out is or a car that's parked there with their bumper hanging out on the street as far as, I don't know how often you have that
Well, my
interaction.
understanding was, when you put that bump out, it's gonna bring it closer to the intersection. Right now, we got that distance
Yeah.
until the first car, so there is a little bit of clearance
Just
there.
a-
but Doing a bump out would definitely strain the turning.
And that's going to the east turning you're talking about.
He's saying going northbound from
150.
Tate, up
Yes,
Walnut Street.
yes.
to say turn-
So
that's
even
where-
if you're headed west on Tate to make that turn, you've got to come out further yet to cross over in that other lane to head north.
I mean, there's other things I think there's other conversations to be had in regards to the location of the stop sign that's hidden down there, as well. That's just, it's one of our highest traffic intersections.
Right.
So, I mean, and this it might be a moot point, but again, it was conversation that would have been, I would have loved to have been involved with. So,
Yeah. Well, here's what I'm gonna suggest. We go forward so we can get the project started. And we don't even start there, but we get started with the other paver project. I would like to get a recommendation, or the recommendation is to go with Dave O'Mara at the price of $494,000 to do all of the crosswalks. And then if we want to add to the intersection up here, we would do that separately,
The additional.
additional. That way we can at least get them going on this, because time, we want to get this up and going, and the sooner we can get that done. So we got another project down by St. Lawrence. We're going to we need to get done this spring for safety reasons as well. And I'd like to get it all done before next school year for sure. So, Any objection to that? Go ahead and with the current project, and then we look at different engineering piece for the bump outs and just see what it would cost. And
I can't imagine that anything is gonna change in regards to being bigger on that side, so it shouldn't affect the pricing on the original. So
right.
if anything, it might potentially shrink a little bit to accommodate the other side. I don't know, whatever. So,
Well, and I'm not so worried about it aesthetically as I am for the safety reasons. So
agreed.
I can agree with making the other side even a smaller bump out. I mean, it won't look the same, but if it serves the purpose and also serves the purpose for our emergency personnel to be able to get out. So,
If I may interject too, if memory serves me correct, when we started this, we all said that going south on Walnut, as stated, people were running it because the stop sign was so far off to the right.
exactly.
Correct.
And you got parked cars.
Right.
Yeah.
We didn't really talk so much in depth about going northbound that night.
Correct.
Because it seemed like that stop sign was visible. But we did, in fact, as you stated, thought maybe there would be a bump out on both sides. But again, as he stated, Mr. Todd, I can see what he's saying. If you're heading west onto Tate and try to turn right to go north on
Right.
Walnut with a bump out, that is going to try to put you,
You gotta go into center lane.
yeah.
Yeah, center
That-
line.
that's
And
gonna
I get
affect
that.
Buses coming out
Yes.
on that, there's a lot of buses
Yes.
coming from the other direction. So, I mean, we have large vehicles coming from both sides, so there's factors that need to be, and that's
Right.
why you have engineers, because there are best practices on how you design these.
Correct.
Nothing else with that sign, Mario. Could we bring it up and then out into the roadway some to be more visible?
On the north side?
You know, going south on the
Instead of doing a
West
bump
side.
It
out,
says you're on the
yeah,
bump out?
if we can't do the bump out, can we just bring the sign up and over?
Oh, I think you still wanna do that bump out.
They
That,
have a green and yellow and red on it.
oh,
We had those at one time.
oh, I did.
Not all the way out, but out to where it
All
would be
the way.
visible, because right now they're behind the parked cars. If we brought it
Right,
out just a
right.
little bit.
But
you'd
that
be able
bump
to see
out's gonna serve as a nerve protection for the kids walking out.
I'm not talking about the bump out we're building, I'm talking about on the other corner.
He's
Oh,
talking about
headed north.
Yeah. No, it'd be heading south.
Well, that stop sign is right there by Maggio's office.
Yeah.
correct.
No.
There are cars parked and covered.
Okay,
that
no,
way.
I'm not talking about that, I'm talking about on the other corner.
Tattoo parlor.
Yeah, there, across the street by the eyeglass place. Eyeglasses.
By the eyeglass place.
Yeah,
That's the bump out
That's
that's,
the bump out
That's one
we're
that's-
looking at now.
that's
Yes.
engineered in here.
all right,
That's it, right. It's kind of hard to,
right here,
yep. And down Walnut.
all right,
Yeah, in front of Dr. Richter's old office.
Correct.
right.
Yes.
Any other discussion?
The only other question I have is what line item we're using.
It's
Figure out
coming out of
line.
it's coming out of the,
Rainy day capital.
rainy day
Rainy
capital.
day capital.
Yep.
Okay.
I went over and asked today, didn't
Yeah, good thing you came over.
I? I did.
Thank you.
We would have taken out of the school fund.
So what I'd like to do then is get a, out of which fund?
He's full of it today. He's full of
Yeah, we
it.
took it away from the schools.
Yeah.
Mr. Gailey, you're okay with that?
He did bring up a good point though about the curve. I mean, that will be hard because our buses
Yeah.
go around there and go north. So we're on Tate and turn to go north up there, putting a bump out for those.
Can't you get those buses that had those accordion type things?
Articulate.
Kids would love standing in that spot. A swivel.
Yeah.
No, that's a big consideration, so.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to approve Dave O'Mara, contractor for the crosswalk project on Walnut Street and also High Street at $494,000.
I'll make that motion.
Second,
I'll second it, Mayor.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, Mr. Weldon, you got City Court Collections Firm?
Yes, sir, Your Honor. Please, the Board of Works, we have a proposed agreement with Coast Professional Incorporated. And here to answer any questions you have, but the relevant parameters are that This contract allows for the Lawrenceburg City Court to change from their current collection agency to this new collection agency. The pros that were identified by the court are that this is a national corporation. They handle collections for the Internal Revenue Service and the federal government. They're one of the only collection agencies that operate in all 50 states. They have been in the municipal and city court space for a long time. The court views them as a large step up from their previous provider for collections. I asked specifically about the 30% collection fee, and that is known to be the industry standard. Yeah, typical. That was one of the questions I thought you guys might want answered. And then the big statement that City Court made was what separates these guys from the pack is their reach and their success rate. So when we're thinking about how often will they be successful in collecting these fees, and the fact that they can go to all 50 states, that's the big benefits that have been identified. These are, we're not paying them. They collect fees as they go. They obviously follow all of the state and federal requirements for the fair and safe collection of fees, consumer protection requirements, and anything that would be required of them. They don't initiate anything further than their simple collection processes without further agreement. So I checked all of those parts just to make sure that they were comparable and that they wouldn't put us in a negative position, and they won't.
So they're only going to get paid as they collect?
Yes, sir, and they
Okay.
won't initiate like a separate lawsuit or anything like that.
Okay.
Without our permission.
So what we're wanting to do tonight, though, is give Judge Joe Johns the authorization to sign this agreement.
That's right, Your Honor. Yes, sir.
Okay. Any questions out of you guys?
The other question I have for clarification, we already have something like this in place. You're just moving to this company, correct?
Yes, sir.
This is nothing new.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, and we
That was
talked.
one of my questions. I'm like, because it's the first I heard of that. So.
We talked to Mr. Fetty, and we wanted to see who does collections for utilities and but it's different. My first question to Mark was, why would we use two different ones? And apparently it is pretty different in terms of what they do. So we do have collections for the city generally, utilities, and also for city court, and we have for quite some time. You're right, Mr. Roulette, but this company does things that are specific to a court system.
Okay. Anything else, guys? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve Coast Professional Services and give Judge Joe Johns the authority to sign this contract.
So moved, Mayor.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next one we got is Planning and Zoning Code Revision Phase 2.
Thank you, Your Honor. Pleases the Board of Works. So we approved and they've executed on their phase 1. Talked to HFC Engineering. Adam Peppers leading this project. He informs us that the existing contract that covers task 1 and 2 has already been billed to 100% at $17,500, and the additional $57,400 gets us through tasks 3 and 4. Covers drafting the new language revisions as needed and requested by the board and council in our engineering department, the adoption process, and an updated zoning map. So this addendum to the contract takes us all the way through the finish line. It was just that we, per the mayor's request, which was quite prudent. A lot of cities just do this all at once. We asked them to chop it up so that we kind of paid as we went. This is a piggyback off of a couple things, but most importantly, the most recent comprehensive plan that called for some very specific goals and guideposts to focus on for our city. There's a lot of data that talks about the importance of matching your planning and zoning code to your comprehensive plan, to saying, okay, what are our needs downtown are much different than our suburban needs on the hill, which are much different than our corridor needs on 50, industrial, commercial. As your town grows, having a code that allows people to develop without limiting them, but also preserves our core values and the things that are important in our city. So really allowing Mario and John to do their job and help spur growth, allowing Mr. Messmore to do his job, but protecting the city. And so that's very narrowly tailored. The reason that we chose HWC Engineering, of course, is because they led that comprehensive plan, which we all, I think, the consensus was that was a very positive process. We were all really thoroughly involved in that. A lot of data gathering, a lot of really finding out, okay, what does Lawrenceburg need? And now, instead of kind of taking the comprehensive plan and shelving it, we're executing it. That's what this project enables us to do. We had kind of a piecemeal update to our building standards when Mike Clark retired. So we're going to take another look at that. But some of these things, like our subdivision code, it's many decades since we've updated it, kind of thing. And Mario will speak to it better than I will. But if we do approve this, then the next steps would be they've asked us to have a small committee formed. So I'd encourage you guys to kind of think about who might be on that committee. From our side, we want to keep it small, but definitely have elected official input in addition to Mario and John, who will be leading the project with HWC.
Questions, guys?
I have none.
I have none, Mayor.
Will I be the one signing this?
Yes, sir, Your Honor, if
Yep.
it's approved.
You and Mr. Fetty, I believe.
So Dale, real quick, so you said they had the first part
Nope, just-
completed,
They did, yeah.
and you have a copy
Eddie
of it?
does too.
Yeah. So, well,
Okay.
we all do. So it was approved. This is an addendum to the contract we did before. And the reason we did it this way was to kind of break it into 4 parts. Formally, it's in 4 parts. It's really kind of more than that. So this is just an addendum to the contract we approved sometime last year. They've completed parts 1 and 2 to that, build it out at 100%. It's that 17.5 number. And then this addendum just allows them to continue on to parts 3 and 4.
We haven't received them yet, but they're finished with that part.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
We just asked them, hey, can you break it up so that we pay as we go, make sure we're getting the most value for the appropriate price.
And we approved that August 15th of 2022 is what it was. Yeah,
God, he's good.
just following up.
That's what technology does, isn't it, Tommy?
Yes, sir, Mr. Fryman, you need to lean in on that. I'll get him going there someday, trust me.
Okay, if there's no other questions, I'd entertain a motion to enter into the agreement with HWC to finish parts 3 and 4 of our planning and zoning code revision.
I'll make that motion, Mayor.
Second,
I'll second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank
All
you.
right. What's the date today? 6/23. Here, Mark, you want this? Okay, next we have the MOU for the SROs with Lawrenceburg Community School Corporation.
Thank you, Your Honor. Please, the Board of Public Works and Safety, and we also, keep in mind, we have representatives from the Lawrenceburg Community School Corporation in attendance. So I'm glad to answer questions, and if we need to call on them, we could ask to impose. But what you have is a joint memorandum of understanding between the Lawrenceburg Police Department and Lawrenceburg Community School Corporation. This was the product of many meetings, many discussion, both on a practical side as well as a legal side. The primary impetus behind this memorandum of understanding is that it's required by law. The statutory structure that supports the idea of having school resource officers has been around for a long time, but it has recently undergone some changes, really positive changes. We're super blessed to be in a community with an amazing school system that is supported by a large SRO force and run by an excellent school administration and excellent police department.
Quit it.
Well,
It's like
what it says in here.
All those adjectives.
Dale, you're good. You're good, Dale.
Thank you.
He must be the city attorney for the school or
Oh,
something.
he must be, yeah.
Is he?
I got a question. Chief Snyder, Chief Snyder was a part of this, and Jacob Jump?
Chief Snyder, Assistant Chief Miller, and Jacob, all three. Mostly the
I knew they were in meetings
chief
with
and
you.
assistant chief were part, and then Dell and myself. So
Okay.
And when you see this when you look at the language that's contained, it's really all straight from the statute, but then what's added in is our practical experience, so kind of our knowledge of, okay, here's what Indianapolis tells us needs to be covered by an MOU. The fact that we need an MOU is statutory, so controlled by the legislature, but what's it look like in Lawrenceburg, and what's it look like from the school side and the LPD side. So it was a great collaboration to be able to tailor it to our needs, but meet all the statutory benchmarks. This will be passed by us tonight, if it pleases the Board of Works, and it's on the agenda for the school board on next Monday.
Okay. Questions from you gentlemen?
I have none, Mayor.
None.
If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the MOU between Lawrenceburg and LCSC for our SOR program.
So moved.
Second,
I'll second it, Mayor.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I signed this one, Mark. You guys signed too. Okay, boy, Dale, you're wearing me out here. Fire and EMS agreements with Dearborn County.
Should have stayed in bed this morning.
Yeah.
What we have in the packet, if it pleases the Board of Works, we've got 3 agreements.
Yeah, we
We only have two.
Okay.
First
We
two.
did the one December 19th.
Okay, which one?
We did the one, the
Wow.
EMS contract on December 19th.
Okay,
So we're just doing the fire protection and the EMS medical services, the way I see it.
okay.
Yeah.
And we'll talk again about the EMS contract, but we're gonna essentially, there was a question about some of the numbers, which is why all 3 of these agreements got tabled, because I was a little unclear about the final numbers, but we're gonna table any negotiations until next year for the EMS agreement. The other 2 are revenue sharing agreements that are done directly with the county, and they're ready for us to sign those, give them to us, or give them to the county, and they have our payments ready to go.
Yeah, I was gonna say, we have to get these signed or we're not gonna get paid.
Yeah.
Are we, the 2 agreements?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
Just the 2 agreements.
yes.
So 2 of them just are a percentage of revenue sharing. The
Yeah.
other one is kind of an arbitrary, the one that we already approved is kind of an arbitrary number that the county pays to different municipalities.
Right?
Without getting too far into it, we were kind of advocating that Lawrenceburg should get more, quite honestly. But Rick is going to do a good job of helping us kind of have a voice in that process next time, based on what Wright gets or what other units get based on our services. So we didn't have time to do that this year, but we'll certainly do it next year.
So for clarification, we again already accepted the 2023 contract for the medical emergency service, correct?
That's
On the
right.
19th. And for the sum of $100,000 is what we get from them.
Right.
And we're just,
So you're saying our EMS director wants to negotiate more the next time around?
Well, we just want all the units to be paid based on their runs and the services. So every unit provides different services, different units, in fact, and then different number of runs.
Is that our units you're talking about?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
But the county pays all the units that cover the gaps.
Okay, all right.
So, because they have to, have coverage for the entire county, so they'll call on Bright and pay them a certain amount, or
I'm with
Aurora. So my impression was that that number was in flux, and that's why I put it back in the packets. But that's locked in. If we get a different number, we'll get
I'm
it
with you.
next year.
After talking to Rick, that's something we definitely need to look into.
Yeah, it didn't
I mean,
seem.
it's,
for 2024.
yes.
we're making 2/3 more calls than,
Right, I see his numbers, yes. I
We
agree.
have a special truck that we use that no one else does, or a unit. Okay, thank you.
all right, I'm gonna take this in two different recommendations. First one we'll do is, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agreement for fire protection services with Dearborn County.
I'll make that motion, Mayor.
Second,
I'll second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And the next one, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agreement for medical emergency medical services with Dearborn County.
So moved.
Second,
I'll second it, Mayor.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right. I don't have any other new business or old business for this particular meeting. You guys got anything?
Not at this time, Mayor.
If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the claims.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried, and a motion to adjourn this meeting.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right. Next meeting I'd like to call to order is City of Lawrenceburg Utility Board meeting for February 6, 2023. Can I get a roll call, Mr. Fetty?
All right, we got board member Tony Abbott.
Here.
How about board member Justin Oppert?
Sir.
Board member Tommy Roulette?
Present.
Board member Lenny Fryman?
Here.
Board member Brett Mondurant?
Yes, sir.
We got utility director Billy Kennett?
Here.
City attorney Dale Weldon?
Here.
President Kelly Malone?
Here.
And myself.
Family. You never, you can't get rid of them.
Nope.
All right.
Let it go, Mayor.
I know. I will. All right. Any announcements for this meeting, Mr. Kennett?
Yes, sir. Wanted to make the board and the mayor aware, we are having problems this year with our lift station pumps going bad. In our capital budget, each year, we budget $20,000 for the pump replacements. And we have 5 pumps on the brink right now. We have lift station 13, which is under the flyover bridge. That's a 60 horse. That's the biggest pump that we have on the system. And there was one of those pumps that burned out, and we're looking at about $12,000 to work on that. Lytle Road, which is lift station number 3, that pump went out, and it's currently under repair as well. We're looking at approximately $9,000 for that. The Bel Air, one of the pumps went out. The cost on that was $12,123, and one pump is burnt out and the other's on its last leg of 3 mile, and the cost associated with that is $19,464. So we've blown our $20,000 budget.
It's only February, you know that, right?
I know it. Yeah, it's not off to a good start. So I just wanted to make you aware that we will be making an adjustment in that capital budget for 2023 because of all of this.
Is this just aging infrastructure? These
Yeah.
pumps are just old?
Yeah,
Or?
it's part of that lift station consolidation is some of this, the Bel Air, the 3 mile. They're just all getting to the point where we knew we were going to face this. We didn't realize it was going to happen all together like this, but it's just aging infrastructure.
This is beyond the norm of normal maintenance on these particular
Yeah.
pumps?
Yeah, it's just they're just like what happened either last year or 2 years ago up there at the Meyer lift station, where it just deteriorated everything in that lift station pit. It's all that sewer gas. It just eats up the infrastructure in there.
Well, you figure those pumps are 24/7
Yeah,
running normally,
right. They get a lot of use, and
on off.
we've got a lot of good over the time out of them.
Are you rebuilding or replacing?
Just the motor.
Just
the
motor. Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So
Not the pump.
we pull the pump out and send off the
Okay.
motor for replacement. Second thing is, it's been a bad month for our sewer system. We had a PVC pipe get into the sewage system somehow, and it went through the rake over to wet well, over to data center, and it completely disintegrated that rake. And so that's a custom rake that was made for that. We've had the company still in business to put that in. We had them come down and do an assessment, and they're putting together options for pricing, but that's going to be an expensive fix as well. That rake is operated. We've done very little maintenance over the years on that rake. It has really done us well. And that PVC pipe just went in there and just destroyed it. So they're actually hand raking now, all that. And this is that rake that dumps into that dumpster right at the bottom of the,
Mechanical bar screen.
yeah. So just want to make you aware of those two things.
You got any news? You got any good news?
That's all the
Thank you, Mayor. I was getting ready to ask
announcements.
Okay. All right. If no other announcements, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the previous meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. New business, Mr. Fetty, outstanding check write-offs.
Yeah, if you notice in the package, you have the outstanding checks that are 2 years or older. Once again, we just did, I think for the Civil City, we did this last week. Once again, for the utilities, we have to do the same thing, anything over 2 years old. You'll notice most of the checks are kind of inactive refunds, but it's a total of $1,129.51. So if I can get a motion on that.
I'll move.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And then residential account?
And with utilities, once again, we, a couple years ago, we came up with policy, anything 2 years or older that's still uncollected. All this stuff is basically went to the collection agency anyway, but anything still uncollected, we write off just for the accounting purposes to get them off the books. The collection agency still has these, so they're still trying to get this and see what happens. But just for the accounting book, for our policy, we have to write this off.
Could have paid for one of those motors.
So if I get a motion on that.
Maybe one money I'm seeing here.
Yeah. Hey, there you go.
Not much.
Can I get a motion to approve that residential account write-off?
So move, Mayor.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
All right. See how quick that was, Dale?
Yeah, I'll try.
Director Kennett, rate study proposal?
Yeah, I'd like to table this item, Mayor. There's
Okay.
been some other things that have come up that I jumped the gun on this thing and
Okay.
need to do some more due diligence.
All right. Can I get a motion to table the rate study proposal?
So moved.
Second.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Put it on the next meeting then, Billy? All right, the next item then, Mr. Kennett, is the booster station water pump VFDs.
Okay, yeah, we had, the existing, system, the control system, for the booster pump, the water booster pumps, they're on soft start, and the soft start, controls went bad on it. We looked at, replacing the soft starts, and the equipment is so old that the soft starters were obsolete. We can no longer get them. So the next thing to do then is to put the VFDs in there, which is the modern day technology. We have a quote from the electrical connection for the amount of $22,997.60. This includes labor and material. We chose the electrical connection because all of our controls there's nothing standard in our system. All the controls are different. And either Andy Lyons has done a lot of work on these controls, or we've used the electrical connection, so they're familiar with our control setup. So that's the reason we received a price for them. So recommendation is to award this proposal to the electrical connection to put VFDs in replacement of soft start. Also, we consider this an emergency repair because right now with the soft starts out, those motors are hard starting. So every time they cycle and come on, you're getting full load amps right directly on those. There's no soft start associated with it. It's hard on those motors when you do the hard starts. So the recommendation is to go with the electrical connection.
With that being an emergency situation, we would not have to have more than one quote?
No.
Okay.
So you do feel it is an emergent at this point, that they hard start, it's gonna potentially could cause more significant damage to those?
Oh, yeah, absolutely, yeah. It's very hard. That's the reason they went to the soft start technology, and Now anymore, we put the VFDs in instead of stop-start.
How soon would they get on this project?
I didn't check on the delivery of the VFDs, but those VFDs should be a stock option, but you just never know with supply chain the way it is today.
It's getting a little bit better, hopefully, so. Well, in light of that information, Mayor, I'd move that we accept this proposal.
Okay, the proposal on the booster station water pump VFD's price of $22,997.60.
Yes, sir.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item is convert the 3S electric meters to 4S.
Yes, sir. So we're in the process of upgrading and changing out all of our electric metering. And when we looked at what we had out there on the system, what we're trying to do is say, this is the way it was done in the past. Is there a better way to do business? We have an opportunity here to convert the 3S meters, which is it's for commercial and industrial, small commercial and industrial customers. What the difference is between the 3S and the 4S, it's different meter types, so it would be an additional stock item if we had the 2 meters. 3S meter has one current transformer up there that's measuring the electricity, and a 4S has 2 current transformers. So to leave it, we have 19 3S meters on the system, and we have 40 of the 4S meters. So what we'd like to do is consolidate the 3S to 4S. That eliminates a meter type and a meter class out of the system and just makes the system easier to operate, less confusing with that. So the cost of that metering, just the material itself, is $18,977.80. That's from Brownstown. We did receive another quote from Annixter, but the quotation was not complete, and we just couldn't get them to complete the line items. But the Annixter proposal for the 2 line items, the quantity of 20 and the quantity of 40, was more money than the Brownstown. So we're figuring that if they would have quoted the full scope, they would have been more. So recommendation is to go with Brownstown for the conversion, for the materials, for the conversion of the 3S to the 4S.
Okay, did you state that we have replacing them plus the 19 3S? So you do a total of 49?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I was wrong, Tommy. There is 30 of the
Okay.
4S. There's 19 3S and.
Yeah, it says we currently have 34S, and he wants to add an additional 19 that are 3S, convert those to 4S.
Okay.
Look at that note at the very top,
Okay.
for a total of 49, which you're correct on the 4S. Is there any connection between this? I know this is a commercial metering system, but between this and the panelist system that we talked about as far as integration?
Yeah, so it falls directly in line with that. So if we stayed with the 3S and 4S, the 3S is a different meter type than the 4S. So what it allows us to do is consolidate all of these into the 4S meters when we order them from Tantalus. So it's one less meter that we have to keep in stock
Right.
and that
I
we have
understand
out there
that.
in the system.
Convert them all.
Additional
and be done with
questions?
it.
All right, if not, I'd entertain a motion to approve the quote to replace the 19 3S meters with 4S meters.
So move.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. You about done, Billy?
Doesn't look like it.
Electric garage gates.
Okay, so, I believe it was last year, I found out that the garage gates, we have 2 gates, one behind the fire station, this is going into the electric garage, and one off Main Street. And, the gates were being left open, and I asked why, because we wanted that to be a secure area. and found out that the gate operators were not working. And so we called a company in, and we brought it before you, and you approved to repair those gate operators. Those operators lasted 3 months max, and the motors keep burning out. We'll come to find out that's been a standard problem. That's the reason the gates were staying open. So we asked the company that was servicing those gates and changing the motors, and they said that gate was too heavy. There was no way to open and close it. I've been in enough industrial facilities and seen wrought iron gates to know there's got to be something out there. So I did some research, and I ended up coming back to the same manufacturer that we have on the gates for the city garage and for the water plant. And so we reached out. They have 2 manufacturers reps for that gate opener manufacturer. And we reached out to 2 of them. One of them responded and came in and assessed what we have and then gave us quotations. And then we had another company, and that company was RJK Associates. And then we had another company, Final Grade, that came in and looked at one of the gates and to do a repair. We already know that the existing motor is not big enough on the gate operator, so we're not considering the Final Grade option. What it came down to is the options of staying with a chain-driven gate or going with a hydraulic gate. The hydraulic gate has a L channel, and that motor operator opens and closes it, slides on that slide gate. It's a very smooth operation, but it comes at a price. The price is $38,363 for those 2 gate openers. So my recommendation is to stay with the chain-driven, which is $543. What they'll be doing with this is they're basically rebuilding all the guts in the cabinets. They're replacing the rollers. Right now, that gate bounces when it opens, and it's because the motor's not big enough, and there's like slag in there that's causing that, and the rollers are bad. So over time, it's just caused all that stuff to deteriorate. So they're basically going to rebuild everything. My opinion is for the chain gate operators at $95.43 versus a hydraulic at $38, you can replace almost 3 of them, at that price. So we asked the manufacturer's rep, are you sure that, because we've had problems with this, are you sure we can do this? And, he told us that, he's got chain-driven driving gates like this all over the place. So he was confident that the chain-driven solution that he has is going to be fine.
So you recommend there's any regular maintenance, yearly maintenance that we do on these, lubrication or such that would?
So the hydraulic gate openers require more maintenance than the chain-driven. Yeah. So that was another reason. The hydraulics should be gone through once a year in his recommendation. The chain-driven, just some minor oil lube and things like that each year.
I like that.
So the recommendation is to go with the chain-driven at $9,543.40 with RJK Associates.
Questions?
Yes, have they got a 90-day warranty on them? So we don't stuff like we did this other one?
I didn't check the warranty. I don't know if they state that on here. It doesn't say anything about what the warranty is.
Sure, they probably would have some, they'd have to have a warranty. I'm not seeing it either.
Okay. All right, so the recommendation from Director Kennett is to go with the chain-driven, would be at a price of $9,543.40. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Tony? Second.
Second.
Lenny, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item is Lawrenceburg School's primary meter.
Yes, sir. We have been having some outage problems over at the school campus, and it's been going on for some time now. And so we've had, and when I say some time, it's been over a year that we've been having problems over there. And so we've sent our crews over there. They've gotten up in bucket trucks, and, we've replaced some things we thought might be the culprit, and we've just been looking for the problems. And so I went over there and was walking the lines, checking for problems. And when I was over there, I seen what is a inconsistency in our practices as far as the school has a primary meter. And what that means is they're accepting service at primary voltage, which is the 12,000 volts. And per our rates, the customer takes the responsibility from the meter point throughout the service as far as the point of demarcation. We have not been practicing that with the school. We have put that primary meter in there, and we traced it back. Our billing system goes back to 2013. The primary meter was installed before 2013, so we don't know exactly when that meter was installed, but it's been there for some time. So it was done in previous administrations. What's supposed to happen and what's the industry standard is the customer accepts the responsibility from the meter point into the different services. In this case, we've had the primary meter in there, but LMU, the electric department, has treated the primary behind the metering point as if it was still ours. So we've been maintaining it, repairing it. If something goes wrong with it, we go out and fix it. We've been doing replacements on it, so we've been treating it as if it was ours. Once I found out that that metering point was in place, I knew it was an inconsistency that we had to fix. And so it's one of those things, when we find a wrong, what do we have to do to make it right? So I met with the superintendent and, explained the situation to him and said, the way I see it, and per our rate schedules, we have two options. The first option being we leave the primary meter in place. We could donate all of the primary wire, the overhead, the underground, the transformers. We could donate everything that's behind the primary meter to the school system. And if we do that, then the school would own all of that. So we wouldn't touch anything.
Past the meter.
Right, we wouldn't touch anything past that primary metering point. So if there's an outage, that would be something that the school would have to contract with somebody or have their own crews that would be able to handle the high voltage. So again, we're talking about 12,000 volts, to do that. So that's the first option. And again, according to industry standards and according to our rate code, that's the way that it has to be, is anything beyond the primary metering point. If we choose to continue having a primary meter, anything behind that, the school would own and maintain and take care of.
Kind of like your house. Kind of like our house.
Right, yeah, anything behind the meter, customer takes care of it.
Just for clarification, Billy, and educate me a little bit. Places like Proximo, and places like that we serve, do they operate underneath the same?
Correct, so.
Meters, anything past the meter is their responsibility?
That's
when they got multiple locations?
That's correct, yeah, so they own the primary, past the meter point, the primary, the transformers, the protection, everything.
Who do they usually call to fix their stuff? They have an outside company?
Yeah, they have an outside vendor that takes care of that. So then the second option, I was thinking about, okay, what other options do we have here? So we can leave the primary metering in place and donate everything, and the school accepts the responsibility past the metering point. The second option is to remove the primary metering point and put individual meters on the transformers that are out there. And in that scenario, LMU would still own, maintain, replace, repair anything up to and including the transformer. So all the primary wire, the transformers. When I spoke with the superintendent, I said, you know, it doesn't make any difference to us which option you would choose. We're also open to other options as well. I had said my concern about if you leave the primary meter in place, the age of the equipment. So the age of the underground primary, the age of the transformers, we've just replaced all the cutouts. So we've done some work in there replacing all that. But it's, my concern is for the school, for the age of the equipment that's out there. We know that there's going to be some considerable repairs and replacements coming up. We believe within the next 5 years, due to the age of the underground primary, that all that underground primary is going to have to be replaced. And it's a big ticket item when you do that. The pros and cons. So the pros of having a primary meter is you have meter consolidation. You got everything under one meter. With our rate schedules the way they are, it's about a $52,000 a year savings with having the primary meter in place. The cons of that is the school would be accepting the responsibility to own, maintain, repair, replace anything beyond that metering point. With the second option, if we do away with the primary meter, we'll have individual meters. The school would be paying approximately $52,000 more a year. With that scenario, LMU would accept the responsibility of any future repairs associated with that or replacements. Yeah. Carl, I don't know if you have any questions or you want to address the board.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you, Director, Mayor, and Council, for allowing us to come tonight. Just wanted to have a conversation about this because, as it was stated, records don't reflect any kind of agreement, MOU, or anything because records weren't kept prior to 2013. So it's unclear because it's prior to either one of us being in our positions to know if there was some kind of agreement that was conducted prior with the utilities and with the school corporation for this. I mean, as the director stated, that he does believe that it was set up that way to help the school corporation years ago, and that's the reason that it was probably conducted the manner and installed the way it was to help the school corporation. So I guess that's why I'm coming forth tonight, just to see if there's any consideration to continue that, because a lot of times looking at whether to be able to grandfather something in like this or be able to create an updated MOU between the two entities to be able to help, because the school's different than any other businesses in the community because we're a governmental entity, nonprofit. So therefore, something that comes to us is going to be passed on to the taxpayers because we've got to raise that levy to be able to pay for that. So therefore, it's just going to impact the taxpayers that we would have by this $52,000 increase per year to the school corporation. So that's the increase that we would have yearly, is by putting all these meters on, it would then, that metering fee would be an increase of about $52,000 annually for the school corporation. So it's just trying to come to the utility board asking if there's any consideration, knowing that it was probably years ago put in place as outlined by the director, that could that not continue for the school corporation, because we are different than any other entity in the community.
I would have a question for utility director. Just for clarification, was this set up improperly and it should be done the way you suggested it, or what? Because again, I know it's hard for everybody to see, there's a lot to encompass here on things that could go bad for the school corporation. because right here is your primary meter.
Right. It's by the baseball field, the outfield of the baseball field is the primary
But
meter.
if you put, and the way I understand, if you put a meter in all these red dots, you're only responsible for the meter to inside the building. It would now be, the utilities, correct me if I'm wrong, would be responsible for all this. But is there anything saying that this had been set up this way from the beginning? Or was this just an act of kindness? Or, I mean, I'm really
Who knows?
confused on how this ever happened to begin with.
Who knows?
I know that no one would ever do that for me on my water meter at the house. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm
I think it was, when we had the discussion that you had mentioned that it was probably set up to help the schools years ago.
Right, yeah.
Yes.
So the concept is, and you have to look at it as, we know it was installed prior to 2013, and we know it wasn't done right. You know, the rate code, clearly states that the owner installs, maintains, replaces
Correct.
past the meter point.
Was the rate code up, because it doesn't say on the rate code when those were updated. So was that code, like it doesn't show any updates in that rate code. So I don't know from 2013 or whenever it happened till now, because it doesn't state on the rate code
Yeah.
when those were periodically updated. So as codes are periodically updated, we don't have any records showing when that took place.
Well,
Yeah, and, so the concept was right, as far as looking at it to save the school money. And when you look at it prior to 2013, it's a different conversation because you don't have all the age on that wire. That's my biggest primary concern is the age of the wire. Back in 2013, that wire still had plenty of life. You may want to have accepted the liability then, even though right now you're getting the best of both worlds. You're getting the consolidated metering, and LMU's been taking care of everything out there as far as the primary. And we're basically still treating it like our own, but we're giving you the break of the primary meter. Now the conversation's changed. We know that it wasn't done correct. Now, if there was an MOU or anything, I don't know. And, we're not gonna know that.
Oh.
So what I'm saying is that this is not a consistent practice and we need to fix it. We know there was improprieties done in past administrations and, what we're doing is cleaning things up as we find them. And so this is just another thing that we found that was an inconsistency that wasn't done properly back in the day.
Right, it was inconsistent now, but we don't know if it was inconsistent back in the day when it was installed at that time, correct?
We could go back and go through the rate structures to find out what that wording, but it's industry practice that the customer owns behind the meter. So I'm almost positive that wording would have been in the rate tariff. I don't think that wording has changed over the years.
I got one.
Yes, this. What about all the other businesses in town that, from the meter in, are they set up the way the school is from 2013, or are we inside the meter, or they take care of this? How's that work?
To my knowledge, the school is the only customer that we have where LMU takes care of anything past the meter. So wherever that the metering point's always the point of demarcation. And so like, other customers that we have that are primary metering is a different, it's for larger corporations and it's just a little bit of a different, what makes that different is you're now working on the high voltage, so you gotta have special equipment, special training, special contractors, where, on the secondary side of the transformer, you're working with the lower voltage and you have more choices as far as contractors. But everybody that we have that's primary metered, the meter is, except for the school, the meter is the point of demarcation and the customer takes care of the overhead and underground primary, the protection equipment, the transformers, and the secondary, everything.
Bill, if they go with option one and said they'll reap the benefits of reduced electric bills. Did you estimate how much yearly they would save on that or anything?
Yeah, it's right at about 52,000 a year that they save, and it's in the service fee. So right now they have one service fee because they have one meter that takes care of all of this, except for and I should have stated this and I forgot, the new gym is on its own transformer and its own meter, and we own that transformer. And the administration building, due to the location, is on its own transformer, and we own that transformer. So those are the two on campus. Everything else falls underneath that primary meter.
So
Right,
those
and it wouldn't be
those savings could go towards the maintenance of the wire when they need the new wire. I mean,
Yeah,
over
and
the years.
that's one thing that Carl had talked about in our meeting is, would it be in the school's best interest? And I told Carl, it doesn't matter to us, option one or option two. It's in our best interest if they choose option one, because we don't have any of the expense or the liability after the meter. But I am concerned about that for the school, because you're looking at the age of the equipment and taking on that liability. So
you think a small repair might add up to that 52,000 pretty quick? I mean,
And, one of the
significant
things
enough.
that Carl talked about was, what if we don't have any problems? Well, you bank that 52,000, you put it in an escrow account or whatever, and then, when something does go wrong. But my fear is, within the next 5 years, all that underground has to be replaced. You'll eat that 52,000 in.
Way. So our electric bill is what it is, and then depending upon which option we go, it's going to increase our then bill. So neither option is going to lower our bills in any way.
I have a question for you. When did you add the maintenance shop in the primary school? What years were they put in place? Do you recall?
Primary school would have been, let me think,
Was it prior to 13 or after? The maintenance shop.
it would have been around there. The maintenance shop was after but the primary school,
Maintenance shop was about 2014.
I was gonna say 15 was maintenance shop, but primary school was before, because that was before me, so it had to be at least, let's say, 20 years ago. So we're probably around almost 2000 is when primary school would have been.
And that primary.
I do remember that. I remember that because that's when they hit the
Gas
savings.
pocket.
I do remember that, yes.
Now, I can't confirm that the primary meter was in place when it happened.
I
I
understand
just
that.
know that the primary school is currently on the primary meter.
We sat here and I'm just throwing this out there. We sat here and talk about wiring going bad, which is probably 500 MCM, maybe that's a pretty good sized wire. But not only the wiring, you have conduit underground as well that could very well go bad. So that would be, if something happens where it blows, they'd be digging up, replacing the conduit as well, is what I'm saying. It's not just the wiring.
Usually if the wire goes bad and it blows, you're gonna replace conduit. It's gonna blow a big hole in it.
So can I ask you this, Bill? If, I know we're talking about doing a rate study in the future, and we've talked about smaller industrial. How many, we're talking 11 meters? Is that what it would be if it was not primary metering?
I think it was 9, wasn't it? Adding 9 meters?
Yeah, and I missed one when I did that letter. I didn't realize the soccer field had a concession stand, so there's one that's missing on.
So how many of those meters, just in speaking in regards to the 50 kW surcharge that we, that's added on to those, how many of those do you have any idea how many of those would reach that 50 kW, which would bump into that higher level?
Yeah, and so there's two services that are beyond the primary meter right now that are single phase, and those fall under a different rate structure than the primary power and light. The primary power and light rate is the one that has that $618.50 a month service charge. And that's really the savings, of having one meter versus having the other meters. But there are 2 meters that will go on a different rate structure, and that service charge is $9 and something per month for those 2 services. That's the football field. Those are single phase services,
Right.
so they fall under a different rate code.
I think let me try to sum this up a little bit. Okay, the Director Kennett found a problem based upon how the industry standard is and how we do things. I would venture to say, and I imagine Mr. Carr back there can probably back this up too, but years ago, a lot of money floating around, and everybody did a lot of stuff that they would normally not do in the environment we're in today. Okay? They may have given the school that nice little present or whatever, where today's standards, if we were doing it, we wouldn't do that. And so, and Carl's talking about, okay, it's money that they'd have to push onto the taxpayers. The other side of that, though, is, Carl, it's money we got to push off to our ratepayers.
I understand, which we are one of the larger ones, correct,
Exactly. And so, I mean, it's somebody's paying for it either way.
correct, fully understand,
So,
fully agree.
I don't know, and I don't know which is
Right.
best or which is worse.
But I think this was prior to the boat being here, this happening. The primary meter put in place. Because it's been here years, the primary meter. From your study, the estimate is that it's been there.
Prior to 2013, so, that's all I know. That's.
Boat came
But
in at
probably-
96.
But prior to even 2000, because I would think that if they were correcting it, they would have corrected it when the primary school was built.
There's a lot of money
Okay.
up until 2007.
Sure. The only other question I ask is that we had some communication with IMPA, so we did have some communication asking questions if there were any other considerations or if, like an MOU or anything could be created, and we're still waiting for an email back from them, correct?
So just for clarification on that, IMPA doesn't have anything to do with this. They don't have any jurisdiction over this. They're strictly a supplier to us of electric into our substations. And I figure that's probably why they haven't answered your email on that. So they have no jurisdiction, they just sell us power. So they're not gonna give an opinion on something like this.
But they did originally give an opinion, and then,
Yeah, they'll tell you that the industry standard beyond the meter is that the customer owns and maintains everything behind that. They'll tell you that. But as far as making any recommendations, as far as, some of the questions you had of, can the school get special treatment? They're gonna stay out of that. That's really none of their business. But where we fall on is the State Board of Accounts, and when things get out of line with State Board of Accounts, that's when investigations happen and things like that.
sure. You just recommended asking them when we had the discussion of asking that we could reach out to them and ask them.
Yeah, and I sent your email
Right.
to them.
Right. That's why I was just saying that we were waiting for a response from them.
And I didn't call them on purpose because I didn't
Yeah.
want to influence
Sure.
their decision.
Sure.
You asked that I send that to them, and
Right.
so that's just the way I do things.
Right.
I try not to influence anybody, or, I let them, and they chose not to answer that, which tells me that they know it's not their business to get into any of that. And I wish they would have responded and told you that, but, they just said nothing, as far as the response.
I have a question, and you just mentioned State Board of Accounts, so if State Board of Accounts were to audit us, the way this is set up, is it the possibility that we would have they would have issues with this? Or am I?
It's my opinion that we found an inconsistency and we're given special treatment to the school district that we don't give to other customers under this rate structure. Now, what would that do, or what would that mean, or what would that be? I don't have an answer for that. I don't, but I know it's an inconsistency, and I know the State Board of Accounts is in here with a fine-tooth comb looking for things. This is not something that you would typically run across or find. It just so happens we had trouble over there, and I went over there and put my eyes trying to find a trouble area, and I seen that primary meter, and I was like, well, this isn't right. It's not consistent with our practices. It's not consistent with our rate tariffs, And so that's when I brought it to Carl's attention, saying there's an inconsistency here, and it should have never been put in the way it was. Not to say that it shouldn't have been put in, it just shouldn't have been put in the way it was. There's that line of demarcation, and you have to have separation in there. So if you keep the primary meter, the school has to own and maintain and replace and repair anything behind the meter.
This is a hard one.
It doesn't solve the problem, but getting to the individual meters, so 2 of the meters are not gonna have that surcharge on them. But the other 8 meters, you believe that they will reach that 50 kW, which would
Yeah,
put them into that other,
yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
Probably the least one would be the tennis courts.
Yeah.
And you've got all that lighting up there.
but their usage as being each one of those individual meters would it then qualify as a little bit smaller usage customer? 'Cause we talked about that as the rate study's done, that
If
those
there's
rates,
something we
that
could
structure
do-
may likely change
Right.
or.
Yeah, and if they fall, so there's different rate structures. You've got single-phase rates, and then you have three-phase rates. The three-phase rate for small customers, 50 kW and above, and below, is the city power service tariff, and the service charge is $982 a month versus the service charge of primary power and light being $618.
Right, and that's what I'm getting at. If these smaller meters would comply, I'm sorry, when their usage would be low enough that it would keep
Yeah.
them under that threshold in some of these.
And right now, since everything's under 1 meter, we don't have that data to know if they
Right,
fall
that
under
makes sense,
50
yeah.
kW. It's my assumption that, due to the lighting,
Right.
that they will go above, and that,
Right.
you know, we're talking, some of the smaller users in that three-phase segment would be the soccer field, the let's see.
Baseball and tennis courts.
Yeah, the baseball.
So Carl, what, if, let's just say you have an option
I
of
understand.
1 or 2, right?
Sure.
Which one would be more beneficial to you guys?
Well, that's a discussion I need to have with our board, but I mean, I guess representing the school corporation, I mean, looking at it, I mean, it's kind of an insurance, it's kind of that gamble on the insurance. And
I
it's,
agree.
so I mean, that's what we're looking at is if you go with option 1, you're taking that risk and then we're having to contract with a third-party contractor to come in to take care of all that equipment if something happens. So, I mean, that's option 1 is you take the risk and you kind of, as we said, kind of that every year, that 50,000, if it's not put towards that, then can go towards maintaining stuff. Or option 2 is basically your insurance policy that you're paying, basically we're gonna pay $52,000 more a year as an insurance policy for everything to be taken care of,
Right.
is what, I mean, those are the 2 options.
Catch-22, I
Right,
understand that.
right. So that's why I was just trying to come to the utility board saying, it's here. I think it was done as an agreement between the school corporation to help them years ago. And I was just trying to ask, and would there be consideration to grandfather the corporation in like they did years ago? That's my only thing I was trying to ask. So I appreciate you guys.
For asking.
I appreciate the help. I do want to say, I mean, the guys have been great when we have an issue. Like I said, yes, I appreciate kind of the honesty that we have had a number of outages that have been inconveniences that have hurt our equipment over the past 2 years. And hopefully it's been identified. I think the workers have been over there quickly to be able to help resolve it as quickly as they can. And hopefully we feel like maybe we're heading in the right direction now once it's been identified. So, yeah. But I appreciate your guys' time tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Mayor, can I ask a question?
Sure.
So, on that, Billy, you were saying like the meter, it's $600 and some a month for that meter base, right?
That's the service charge for that meter.
And that's for everybody that uses that kind of meter base, correct?
Yeah, that's part of the rate code. So each class of customer falls under a different rate code. This primary power and light rate code is the one that carries that $618.50 a month service charge.
Okay, well,
I know the school's a totally different identity than anybody else in the city. I mean, you know, it's for the kids and and you guys, thank you very much for everything you do already. But is there any way of maybe reducing that rate charge for the schools?
It's part of our ordinance.
Yeah.
It is? I mean, there's no way of,
And that's where we're hoping that once we're able to do a solid rate study, that some of that rate code may change for lower usage, because it is that, once it hits that 50 kW mark, then it kicks that rate on for the rest of the year.
Peak demand.
okay.
So when we are able to, and the lower usage customers, the ones that aren't using way above that, it maybe just hit it, the lower usage customers are gonna get a better rate, because right now it is off. I mean, the lower, for the individual customers that have industrial meters that go over the 50 kW, they pay a higher rate than maybe a giant user, you know, that's using a lot of energy, significantly higher rate. So that's stuff that we, as a utility service board, are vigilantly working on, trying to get a rate study complete. And that's why I brought that up even with that, because thinking hopefully in the future, depending on what scenario we go with, that it is gonna help lower the cost of some of those, to alleviate some of that surcharge.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments up here? If not, is any old business? Director? If not, I entertain a motion to approve the claims.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Motion to adjourn this meeting.
I would make that motion as long as you give us at least a 5 or 10 minutes caucus in between
Yes,
the next meeting, please.
I'll second that.
You big babies.
Nope.
I'll third that.
Nope,
I'll third
nope.
it.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Brett? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We'll reconvene at 20 till.
Thank you, Mayor.
You know, as you get older, you gotta have a restroom break.
Nope, maybe I need to get up and walk, Mr. Abbott. I stiffen up.
Hey, I got you covered back here.
Yes.
Hey, what's up?
I know.
What happened?
Thank you, everybody. Thanks for your time.
Unless we can help, since we know what else to do.
No, you don't have to, and,
Figured any comments that had probably would have been.
no, it is, and I mean,
that deal. It serves everything
so
up to
the
the
only
meter now.
council is part of this, is the funding.
Oh, I know.
I get it.
The only,
We gotta be consistent.
I
mean,
they really didn't give us.
well, that's what I'm saying. You can't have, one customer can't be getting special treatment.
Talking about the scoping.
Oh, my. You know how it was? Well, you were working here. You know. I wouldn't.
Have you stick around? So how's this process?
There's nothing more I'd rather do than help schools.
It's like the CNC.
We know.
Whenever something like that happens, try to fix it.
We're paying for the pre-construction. These guys have to improve that contract. What are you gonna pay?
Like the sign up?
What's the metric that we
Start eating it.
Okay, she said.
That'll still be a flat
See you guys. Mr. Weldon, see you, sir.
See ya.
Tommy, see you.
See you, ma'am.
Wow.
Is he?
So you'll come back with that. They'll give us with their.
Brother, I didn't
EMP or we can. Hey Tommy, he owes pizza for everybody next meeting.
Right. We'll see about that.
Ready, buddy?
Lenny,
Who we missing?
Lenny, your phone's ringing.
We missed him.
Phone's ringing. I love it, man. I love it.
Sit down, Lenny.
Get all that here.
As soon as they tell me.
Thanks. You don't want that. Hey, you don't want that.
Hey, be careful.
I can't drive.
All right, I'd like to call to order the City of Lawrenceburg Council for February 6, 2023. Everybody could rise for the pledge, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, Mr. Fetty.
All right. Let's see where we got Councilperson Tony Abbott.
Here.
Councilperson Justin Oppert.
Sir.
Councilperson Tommy Roulette. Councilperson Lenny Fryman.
Here.
Councilperson Brett Bondurant.
Yes, sir.
City Attorney Dale Weldon.
Here.
Mayor Kelly Malone.
Here.
And myself.
Okay, announcements, board reports, streets, alleys, and curbs up downtown there, Mr. Abbott.
We're in good shape.
Streets, alleys, and curbs up on the hill, Mr. Fryman.
Very good, sir. Thank you.
Financed, Mr. Bondurant.
No report, Mayor.
Parks and playgrounds, Mr. Noppert.
Nothing to report, sir.
And fire department, Mr. Roulette.
I have nothing to report, but you all did see that Chief Tremaine sent his year-end report in
Yes.
our packet.
Yes, good report.
Mayor, if I may, maybe now is not the right time, but probably under Parks and Playgrounds. We did have a accident at the community center. I think we probably ought to look into finding some kind of relief from the metal pillars that are there stationary in the.
Mario, if you could take a look at that, you know, the steel stanchions that come down on the sides of the buildings, inside the gymnasium. It didn't happen during a game, it happened between games. A little girl or boy went and picked up a basketball and hit their head on that and split it open, had 4 or 5 staples and.
So we're talking about some type of padding?
Yeah, I think
Add the
They're
holes.
ironically placed just directly
Yeah.
behind the goals. I mean, so they're in play. It was actually during a game, but a dead ball or something. So it was live. It was a player, one of the players that got injured. But I don't know what the fix is. Whether we do like the padding the walls have. I know the middle school has it, or some of the other schools.
next we'll have to take out the bleachers.
What's that?
The next we'll have to take out the.
Yeah, right. You open a can of worms here, but
Well, that's a small pad that would be an easy fix.
well, that's
See
like we
those on-
talked about
That's-
just
yeah.
right before the meeting. Chief and I just mentioned throwing a pool noodle up because we've got 3 more weeks of back, like just because the corners is the issue, right? So
Yeah.
there's like a flat surface that's probably, I don't know, 1.5 to 2 foot, and then the corners that are edging, that
Yep.
edge down all the way down. That was, kind of the impact point. So I don't know what.
So we're talking vertical columns there.
Yeah, the
that-
column,
Yeah.
the whole structure, yeah.
Yeah.
How many of them are they over, Brett?
Oh,
Bunch of 'em.
inside the gym. Oh, probably.
30.
7 or
Probably, yeah, it's probably 8.
I was thinking eight total.
We put
Yeah,
them on.
8
Eight
on
on
the
each
side.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's probably
Yeah,
a lot
they
closer.
hold up the, the
Yep.
columns hold up.
I was thinking that I thought I counted 6 on the one long wall.
Yeah.
I think there's some on the short walls too.
Oh, there is, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I just the wall of the accident briefly looked. I don't, like I said, I don't know
Probably
what
close
the
to
fix is.
20. Wow, I would think.
Should be in
At least for now.
Really, that many?
It, it would dampen it enough, I think, but I think eventually we look into something other than a pool noodle.
Other than what?
Other than a pool noodle on the corner. I think, I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
Pads of some sort, but
Pool
it
noodle.
really is a miracle. It's
Multifaceted pool noodle.
it's hard to imagine that the gym has been standing this long
And
with
you
no
know, it's the
accidents,
first time we've
thankfully,
anything
but
like this, isn't it?
it always kind of takes one of these for someone to realize.
Anybody else?
I mean, anything to
Happens.
soften
Always
the corner is
happens.
gonna do it.
Yep,
Something's gonna
Anything.
happen.
for sure.
Yeah, it shouldn't.
I don't know what's manufactured. There might even be something
Yeah.
manufactured specifically for that
Right,
purpose. you know.
right, nope, we'll take a look at it.
Awesome, thank you.
Good deal. Okay, any other?
The girl is rock
Okay.
solid though, yeah.
She came back, played, or
She
came back to
came
the
back and
gym
ran a
anyway.
score clock for us. She's a champ. So
She's tough,
Yeah,
tough.
she's a tough kid.
Had blonde hair, you said, and
Yeah.
there's a little ginger looking after that.
Yeah.
Poor kid.
Yeah.
It's crowded down there though, too, during those times, I'll tell you.
It's crowded, yeah.
Yeah.
It's crowded.
Okay, the only thing I want to make you guys aware, make sure council retreats this week, Thursday. Be there by 2:00 if you can. First meeting's at 3.
Do we have like an itinerary or anything that we're going to get in that? Like
You get it that day.
Okay, gotcha.
It'll be a binder, like last year.
Gotcha.
Did
With
you
everything
get
in.
the general one that has like our planned and timed meetings? I think Winterberg sent to us, but not an actual.
I have that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right,
Okay.
yeah.
I'm talking about.
I get you.
Subjects and whatnot.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm
Which
glad
is
you mentioned that,
basically
'cause
what you have outside in the
Yeah.
posting, correct?
Absolutely, yeah.
Tony
Pretty
wasn't
close
gonna be
to
there the next week.
We're gonna wanna study up on
I'm
this
glad
topic
you mentioned
before we
that, 'cause
get there.
Tony wasn't gonna be there the next week. He thought it was next week. I'm just saying.
I don't think that's the way it was.
Probably not.
I
Not
think
now.
I had to
Okay.
remind somebody that it was this week.
Not now, you two.
What do you think, somebody?
I think it's Mark.
All right. If no other announcements, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the previous meeting.
So moved.
Second.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. First item under new business it was pushed to the council from Board of Works with a favorable was to a recommendation for Maxwell Construction to be the CMC for the projects at hand, the 6 projects. Any comment, questions, concerns?
Yes, sir.
If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
The only thing I wanted to
Yes.
clarify, I was able to talk to Mr. Rainey, just so that we know, I mean, so Mr. Rainey informed me that Maxwell Construction did not give us any pricing for their pre-construction or post-construction work, is that,
That's correct.
so how do we approve that, and how did we compare that to the other candidates? We don't know what they're gonna charge us, and how do we budget for that?
Well, we do know what the other candidate was gonna charge us. They disclosed a fee,
I know they
our
did,
Turner.
but Maxwell didn't. So, I mean,
Maxwell
how do we
didn't.
move
So
forward if we don't know what it is?
they have indicated in both of the responses that in previous projects, I can't speak to what they've done with the city, but they said in previous projects, pre-construction fees on CMC projects have been a fixed basis such as Civic Park and currently on the Liberty Theater project. It is how they're working their CMC fee theirs. It's a fixed cost. And they comment that if desired, that Maxwell would be willing to perform these services on an hourly basis based upon a percentage. They're also willing to defer or roll over any fees until the construction fee is established with the GMP and it's agreed upon, and it's been authorized to proceed.
So that's in lieu of having scoping fees.
So they would basically defer any scoping fees. I would want those fees disclosed so that we knew what those would be, so that if we did not move forward with the project, we would know what the city would owe.
Yeah, but we can't agree to let them just bill us later, and then we have to pay it no matter what.
So
But those fees are negotiable at this point.
they're very negotiable. So my recommendation would be that this is approved contingent upon or pending final negotiations.
It just,
which-
I mean, I'm sure and they know more about construction, and you know more about construction than I ever will, but it would just be better if we had a flat fee for the pre-construction and then a percentage on, just so we know.
And I think they're totally willing to do whatever the city would prefer. If we'd like a flat fee for this scoping period and have them provide us that, then we would negotiate that with them. And
Because out of the 6 projects, you know, there's probably 4 that are gonna have more time involved than the other 2.
Correct.
Is that kind of why they did it like that, Mario? Because they just wanted to be like as needed?
Incorrect. I mean, again, when I say negotiate, they being David's group are literally gonna go in there and negotiate a number they feel comfortable with. And that's even based off of what we already know what the other competitor was at that time also.
yeah,
So so what we're saying then is if you guys knew what the other competitors were gonna charge, you would play that against.
we would make sure that you have a
Make sure it's a comparable, competitive
yeah.
price.
Correct.
Yep.
Okay.
Are you allowed to do that?
They are, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's,
We mean
By
what?
them knowing what they're gonna charge, well, he could come in later on and say, well, I'll just be a little
See, we
bit
just
less.
we just didn't base it on the fees though.
It's based on
The
qualifications.
score, yes.
Yeah.
but we just didn't, all the other candidates gave us their fees and Maxwell did. And so, I mean, and this is a little awkward just because this procedure is designed for bigger projects and that's why we've lumped some together, but even still, it's still strange, a little doesn't fit on all 4. It's kind of square peg and round holes in some regards. I just don't want anyone to have the impression that we're gonna have a bill that we didn't
Like an open
negotiate.
checkbook.
And that was my concern, my question earlier. I didn't, the percentage, but I know some of these projects would be very expensive. And I just want council to be aware that, you've proven this could be millions. I mean, we're not talking, $10,000.
How did,
it's
Yeah.
like.
So,
who was the second place? That was, well, we don't have to say, but I mean, the second
I don't
place.
think we have that.
Well, to back up, you're saying it could be millions. You're saying Maxwell fees could be millions?
I don't know. Could they be? That would be my question. If I was voting on this, I would say, is it, well, I gotta write
No,
the
when you
checks
were
for these
asking about
things.
the 20%, that was self-performing, is where that 20% I think came in from.
Yeah, but what kind of fees are we talking? I mean, I wouldn't even have a ballpark. I couldn't even guess what they would be.
And we want to have the knowledge, so say they come to us and they say, all right, we're done, we're ready to go, here's our GMP, but here's our flat fee for pre-construction, and here's our points on the project. We want to be able to compare that to what the other bidders were offering in both regards so that we know.
sure.
a good price, I guess.
The only thing we know about the other bidder, and that we can go back to all the quotes if we want to, and we provided a matrix to disclose what those were for review. I don't have that in front of me, I apologize. But we have a pre-construction fee to get us through the scoping period. That can either be a fixed fee, it could be a hourly not to exceed, or they could give us a fee and say that's deferred until we go into contract with a GMP. If we do not go into contract with a guaranteed maximum price, we don't proceed with the project, then the city would owe that money for that scoping fee.
Up to that.
Okay. When you go into contract and we move the project forward, there would be a CM fee, it's a percentage based. They would identify that, they would disclose their fees. Again, this is all negotiable at this time. We go into this GMP, they're gonna provide, within that GMP will be the hard cost of construction, the CM fee, contingencies, general conditions, all of that is for our review and negotiation.
What are the?
We don't have to
what are
prove
the
any of that.
on there? Is it
Okay.
What's that?
5%, 10%, 15, 10%?
10% of total fee?
For contingency, it depends.
Well, the CM fee is typically around, I mean, that varies, but it's typically 2 3/4, 3%, 3.25% is around that for the CM fee, okay? And then you have general conditions, hard costs of construction, contingencies, which there'd be a construction contingency, an owner contingency,
Is there a cap on self-perform?
20%.
Well, I mean, I could see them quoting us hourly instead of a flat fee for pre-construction, but I'd rather have one or the other. I think these guys would rather have one or the other, because then if we have hourly, then Mario could say, well, these guys are doing a lot of work, because who designed the project, remind me?
American Construction
We have-
Point.
American did all the design work.
They're working on all the
I
projects.
mean, and then they don't have a pre-construction and post-construction. It's not broken, or is it? Is it broken down in?
We have a master services agreement with Structure Point to perform all this work.
Yeah.
And they're giving us task orders as we move through the various phases of design.
So, I mean, I guess my point in that is Maxwell's the only one who has a sharp line with pre-construction. And I mean, the CMC that's why it usually is a flat fee and then
Yeah.
points. So, I don't know. I mean,
Well, I think that we gotta ask, the question is, then, do you wanna know what the scoping fees are before we move forward? Because we're not gonna know what the CM fee is except for a percentage.
We won't know that until.
Whatever the total price is.
Project, yeah.
Right.
I mean, I'd rather at least have hourly with some idea of how far we want to go, because we don't want it just to be disproportionate, you know what I mean? I mean, if we did hourly and we had some kind of not to exceed as a
Well, that's their
percentage
job,
of the.
to make sure that it doesn't exceed what previous quotes were at. It's not our job.
So since,
It just
Yeah.
creates uncertainty, I guess.
so how about if the council would agree to this, how about, since they were the preferred, for the group, which was Mr. Todd, Ms. Cook, Mr. Johnson, John Bryant from my group, and myself were on that review committee. They were the preferred vendor based upon qualifications, and we can provide that matrix for you. But given that, and the recommendation was to move forward with Maxwell from this review committee, that we would approve them for the project, and if you prefer, since they are giving us the option, let us work to establish an hourly not to exceed during the scoping period that we can move forward with.
I mean, I think that would be good
Yes.
for Mark and the
Yes.
mayor,
Yeah,
and you guys.
At least you're gonna
can
bring
rely
some
on it.
kind of number back, and at
Yeah.
least they got a
Good point.
lot on.
No, and having a
see
not to
what they're
exceed
billing.
hourly, I mean, if that's something that you would
Couldn't ask for
negotiate.
more than that.
No, yeah.
That seems
That's
like
fair.
a fair.
That would get us through that scoping period
Yes.
to where we can identify the cost of the projects.
I'll tell you
Yes, sir.
what we can do. We've got a open meeting scheduled for Friday. If we could get Maxwell to commit to, in writing, a not to exceed number, we could get this approved on Friday.
Perfect.
I'll add it to the
You
agenda.
guys okay with that?
Tomorrow.
We table it until tonight, on the council side of this?
And as Mr. Weldon say, add it to the agenda and vote.
Yep, I'll do it
We have
tomorrow,
them
and that'll
numbers.
be plenty of days.
It would be nice.
I think it'd be easy enough for them to get that.
I'll have the information you need.
End of business Thursday.
Yep, not a problem.
That would help us tremendously. Okay.
All right.
You guys okay with that? All right, and then I'll entertain a motion to,
Thank you.
table the CMC recommendation for the 6 projects.
Do you want to reconvene this? Do you want to put in that motion to reconvene also on that date so that that's specified in the motion as well? Just that, so it's table, it wouldn't just go to the next council meeting?
It doesn't have to, but
Okay.
we can if you want to. So you want the motion to say,
I think it was an emotion for that Friday.
yeah,
Yep, yes. Then we reconvene
is to
that.
approve, we can either table this tonight, or we can approve it based upon, I don't want to approve it tonight. We're going to table it.
Yeah,
We're just going to table it.
I'm in agreement
I'll entertain a motion to table the CMC recommendation for tonight.
that the Board of Works previously recommended
Yeah.
to council, yeah.
So moved.
Second.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? But we will approve it on Friday, pending, as long as we have those numbers.
Numbers.
Yes.
Right.
And I think Maxwell was trying to help us out by doing it that way. It's just naturally, you know, we
Sure, you
need
want the
more
comfort level.
certainty.
No, and I appreciate you pushing on that.
Yes, I do too. I greatly
Well, thanks,
appreciate that.
thanks for David. David's doing a great job.
All right, Dell, the Short Street Alley vacation ordinance.
Yes, sir, Your Honor. Please, the Common Council, what we have is an ordinance that goes in line with both the really Short Street Alley vacation and also the new plat that we're doing over there. The reason we have an ordinance specific only to the vacation of the alleys, because the county needs that for their records. So this basically just says that we are vacating the alley. It's in conjunction with a project. The project is based on improvement of the area, development of the area. It's for the greater good of the citizens, and then it attaches as an exhibit the vacation plat, or the vacation survey rather. I'm sorry, that was already approved by the Plan Commission last Wednesday.
Okay. Any questions about that ordinance? Ordinance number 1.
Number 1.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to approve ordinance number 1-2023. We'll do it, and we'll approve it tonight and move it forward as long as it's a unanimous vote. Can I get a
I'll make that motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries and moves forward.
Thank you, Your Honor. So, and just to be clear, that was the final step in this
Yep.
process.
Okay, good. All right, update on 70 East High Street.
Yes, Your Honor. Please, the Common Council. 70 East High Street is a upstairs residential, downstairs business building located on High Street between the Framery and the Votal Law Office. This project was to square off the back of that property by carving off certain square footage from property that we own that's adjacent to that property to the east, which is that Framery complex that has also business downstairs, residential above it. That project was done through redevelopment. It was originated in redevelopment, done through redevelopment. There was a redevelopment agreement that was drafted where the owners of 70 East High Street would agree that they would put a retail business in the bottom of that property. After that agreement was made, thank you, David. After that agreement was made, the property owners approached Mr. Messmore, the redevelopment director. They stated that they are not able to have a retail business because the law firm that rents the first floor is under a long-term lease. Mr. Messmore indicates that he would like the city to still proceed with taking away that square footage from the city-owned property and adding it to their lot, because it still is a business downstairs, residential upstairs. But I did not want to move forward with the project at all until you were given a full report as to what's developed there. And this project is basically done. It's been before you a couple times, before Plan Commission. The deed's even been written and is ready to be filed, be recorded. But it's really the pleasure of City Council at this point because of that development with redevelopment. So if you feel comfortable just letting it go ahead to be transferred, then we can do that. I can record the deed. If you don't feel comfortable, then that's your decision. It's your property. Or if you want to kick it back to redevelopment for further action, really whatever you guys think is more appropriate.
So you're stating that there's a law firm that had a long-term lease that will not move out of that building, so they cannot move forward.
Exactly. So we structured, I wrote the development agreement, kind of like I always do. Says, hey, we'll, instead of giving them money this time, we'll give you this property, but you have to agree to have for 3 years, you have to agree to have a retail business, not a law firm or an accounting firm or whatever. And then for those 3 years, if you don't do that, then you give us the money back. They're called a clawback. They tried to do that, but they're not able to break the lease, so it'll be still a business. but not a retail business, a professional.
Not
service
yet.
business.
Not yet, but how long will this,
Don't know.
we don't know.
Dill, will you go, why is this back at council? Will you go over that part again?
Because it's your property, so I didn't wanna, because this
We own the
development
property
happened.
back.
Yeah, you
It
own.
wasn't
the property.
redevelopment property, it was city-owned property.
Yeah, so we were kinda,
It was a Davis property.
Transfer to redevelopment?
we didn't transfer it, and we
Never.
weren't going to.
It was just a joint agreement between redevelopment and.
Yeah.
And then the
We were trying to
economic
square
development.
off the property for
Yeah, so it was a
property
joint
owner.
thing, so it never really got transferred to redevelopment?
Yep, exactly. And we weren't gonna transfer it because it was easier to have the city transfer it based on their request of redevelopment, like a pass-through for just that part of the property. That part's already been surveyed and, there's a survey and a deed ready to go, but
Is there any appraisals on that piece of property at all? Did we have anything like that done?
no, and really, it's landlocked property that couldn't be sold to anyone except the adjoining landowner. That's the only person that could ever buy it. So that's another reason why we didn't do it just strictly as a city project, because we couldn't appraise it and offer it to the public to sell, because no one could buy it, because it would be an illegal parcel unless the property owners at 70 East High on it.
Do you remember what the size of that, was it like 4 foot by 20, or how
Yeah.
big an area was that?
It was less than that, I think.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Was it?
Yeah.
I forget what it was, but
it's really small, and the lot, it jumps over.
Yeah, I've seen it
So
on
it's not a
Beacon.
straight lot line anyway.
Right,
Mario,
yes.
do you know at all why that would have been surveyed like that?
No, not a clue.
There's not like not a natural structure that would.
I would say unless there was a structure there at one time, they surveyed around it.
And doing this doesn't hurt our access to the adjoining property or anything like that? or-
Yeah, we actually poured
Or
concrete.
the sidewalk there and everything, yeah.
So the question for you guys is whether or not you want to, move ahead on recording the deed, right? Recording the deed.
Yes, Your Honor. And this is, the request of Director Messmore that this
All right.
continue.
Questions, any more questions about 70 East High?
You say, so you're basically saying Messmore redevelopment's favorable that this move forward?
Yeah, they want it to happen. It's just, I didn't want things to change and then not come back to you guys.
Good point.
it's more or less just gonna square the property up, isn't that what it's gonna do?
Correct.
I mean,
That's
it's
right.
reconciling a lot. I mean,
Yeah.
if redevelopment's favorable toward this is more their forte anyway. I'd move that we accept it.
Second,
I'd second that.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Todd, 119 Short Street lot split and consolidation.
Yes, Your Honor. As you see, 119 Short Street is the consolidation needed to clean up, you know where the alley portion is? The next parcel had some, and I guess legal can explain it, some patchwork there that we needed put together to one parcel. That would be the consolidation piece of it. Looking to get that, do you want to do them separate? Consolidation and vac,
Yeah, I'd like to do it separate.
so we're looking for a motion for that, Your Honor.
Questions, guys?
So which one are you requesting on right now, Mario?
Consolidation,
For the
lot,
lot?
yes.
Okay.
Split.
I only have one question on that, and I'm sure that we're doing that. Once we do consolidate that lot for that property, which would be the old Union Hall, there is a curb cut there now. Will that curb cut be taken out and made that just a sidewalk and whatnot?
Correct.
Because you're now cutting into that curb cut.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
So we'd be taking that curb cut out and wouldn't be a parcel sitting there.
And I say, yes, we take it out. It'd probably stay as long as it can be used.
Well, I mean, you might just ADA put some of the,
No, we won't call it ADA required curb cut.
you know, no crossing there. There's no crossing gonna be there
No.
potentially.
Not right now, anyway.
So you would, okay, so we would keep the curb cut because it
Possibly,
wouldn't
we would.
impede upon him, is what I'm trying to say.
No.
Because he would just be using the area behind it.
20 feet.
Okay,
Exactly.
I follow.
Exactly. But I'm
Okay.
saying if the curb cut can stay and be utilized while that whole procedure and operation is going on.
Right,
we
that
would
was
leave
my
it.
concern. Okay,
Yes.
If not, we could always make it into
Okay,
a
it
regular
was just-
sidewalk.
just a question.
Yeah. Yes.
That's a
Good
question.
point,
Sorry.
good point.
Okay.
Any other questions about that?
Nope.
I'll entertain a motion to approve the 119 Short Street lot consolidation.
So moved, Mayor.
Tommy, second.
Second.
Well, Lenny, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Then Short Street partial alley vacation.
Yeah, the next would be the vacation of the alleyway, which is the same length as the Carpenter's Hall itself, back to that chain link fence. Asking to vacate that portion at this time.
Any questions regarding that, guys? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the Short Street partial alley vacation.
So move.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I have no other new business.
And Your Honor, I'll need signatures before you guys take off
Yeah.
for the vacation and the split.
Got it. Old business, Mr. Todd. Oh, I'm sorry, somebody have a
No,
problem?
I was just saying, they gotta sign these things first.
Tell him, Mark. Tell him.
Who's got more candy?
Tunnel inspection.
Yes, Your Honor, I think it's in your packet, the report for the tunnel inspection. As you see, there's no dire emergencies. There's some recommendations that we will follow, just on a maintenance, prevention. There has been some delineator signage put up, as you see.
Yeah.
They're asking to put a cushion pad on that center column. We probably won't put a center cushion pad on that center column. There's just not enough room.
There is.
There's not enough width, is there?
No, sir.
Yeah.
And their bike race isn't gonna change this year, so.
It's been there since.
That was the original route.
It was.
Oh, yeah.
Are we gonna fill the cracks and paint it?
We are gonna fill epoxy, inject the cracks.
Yeah, I think it was outlined one.
Paint covers it all up, right, Tony?
Yep. Make it look
As
better.
long as it satisfies Mr. Abbott.
As long as the trains don't
That's the first good
fall
news
in
we've
it.
heard from an engineer in a while.
Yes, it is.
I just want to know, is there going to be a tree put over there?
And let's get
I'm
back
just
to the thing at hand.
Okay. Any other old business?
Thank you for that.
Yes.
Are you
Yes.
satisfied with
I
that?
feel
Mr.
better.
Abbott?
I feel better.
You feel comfortable going through that tunnel now?
Nope.
He hasn't gone through it since.
Drive a fire apparatus through it, sir.
I'll entertain comments from the audience. Anyone in the audience have any comments to bring forward?
Should we bring, Your Honor? There is some old business in regards to the Maple Street. We're looking to go out and get some pricing on that, mediation on.
The excavation, the mitigation on it?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Is that through redevelopment though?
Yeah, it
Yeah.
should be.
That should all be redevelopment.
Well, there's an
Yeah.
alley there.
There is an alley. Do we have to remediate some of it under the alley as well?
Yes.
That's in the scope?
Yes.
I guess it is coming on us too, isn't it?
So we'll have our folks check everything, but there's an alley there.
Right.
In fact, that tree, that big silver maple is right there at that alleyway.
I think that's, more, isn't
You're
it?
just looking for authority to go out and get some bids on the mitigation piece,
Yes.
right?
Yes. For that alley portion. The other part
Just
is the
the
redevelopment.
And they've already have their numbers on mitigation, right?
They have their
Estimates?
They have some.
yardage, but we don't have pricing on the bids yet
Right.
for that.
Oh, okay, they,
Yes.
from yardage, okay.
Correct.
So,
And theirs would be to the south side of that alley, what they would be doing, correct?
Actually, to the north.
yeah, like, not the gravel, the grass, the grassy area.
Yes.
So did they scope on the brownfield, did they scope out the alley area as well?
Yes.
So we know essentially the areas that are
It's all-
potentially
Yeah.
Yeah.
bad.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just kind of FYI for now, but we'd like to go ahead and get some pricing though for that alleyway and whatever excavation needs to be part of that alley.
Will it be one price though for the whole project for mitigation?
For the mitigation part, but the prep would probably be separate. We'd probably do that separate of it.
All right.
And I'll get with legal to kind of go through that vacation if it's gonna take a vacation for that alleyway.
Got it. Well, I think what you're asking for tonight then is under old business. We give give them the authority to go out and get some bids on the excavation.
Correct.
Prep work for the city's part of the Maple Street property.
Correct.
I'll move that we do that, Your Honor.
Motion, second.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
With urgency.
With urgency.
We've been sitting on that thing.
Somebody else?
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am?
Is there an ordinance for cars running through the night? Just like the semis when they ran over here by the park all night? Well, our neighbors have diesel vehicles, 2 of them. The girl gets up through,
These are the little sports cars.
yeah,
Yeah.
they get
very-
up,
very
she
noisy.
works nights. She gets up, Saturday morning, she left at 10, or she got up at 10 after 3. She got the car running, 3:30 it left. But these cars are very, very loud. And she works, she gets up through the night and leaves. It don't just affect me, it affects Dakota and Shelby, and it affects my daughter, because these cars are very, very, very loud. They're
These cars
diesel.
don't have
They're
regular
sports.
mufflers on them.
They're sports.
Made to be noisy.
Yes.
That's the way they want them.
Well, it just
He
high
leaves-
performance, and it's, yeah, that's, they're just running.
Is there an ordinance though? I mean, because I mean,
General noise.
But it's not gonna qualify to meet so many decibels with these cars idling. They're just a nuisance because they're just.
they wake you up.
Wake
Once
you
they
up.
start them and, yeah.
So I could totally see that.
They rev them up too, and that's makes me even.
He works nights too, but he leaves at 10. We know when he
You
leaves.
talk to them?
No, it's a young couple, but the bad thing about it, we never catch them because they're always gone. But I would put a note on the door. If there is an ordinance, I would like to know.
There's a noise, we actually have a
We got a noise ordinance, but I don't think.
I don't want to, I mean, they work. I don't want to keep them from working, but those,
We got enough of those.
yeah.
Well, you're
But-
warming it up in the wintertime and they're. sitting
No,
there for
it's
20
just,
minutes and
it's every day.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been all summer.
Yeah.
I guess they have to start those cars up to, I don't know.
They're not diesels, they're gasoline engines, but yes, I see.
Oh my gosh, they're loud.
Warming them up, yeah. I know the cars you're speaking
We're
of.
surrounded by a bunch of hot rods too, aren't we?
What if
Dave?
they turn them, way they're
Well,
facing it?
that's, no.
Pull into the
That's
garage
not
and
gonna work.
crosses towards the back.
His motorcycle
up at like 2 o'clock in the morning and start.
It's at 3 in the morning.
It's 2:30, 3:30,
They're all
4,
around.
whenever.
for a race on Tate Street.
I mean, it's music.
I mean, there is a noise ordinance, but you'd have to call the police. The police have to call that, come there, and they come with the gun, the decimal gun, and do it. So by the time that happens, they'll probably be gone to work.
Yeah.
Do you think
I
they
don't
would
wanna-
even
I don't wanna
be
do
above
that. I
the
just
decibel
wanna-
ordinance though?
Oh,
I
yeah.
don't.
If
Yeah.
I got a
think
right
they
to
would.
go ask
Yes,
him
they
not
would.
to start it, let
85
it run like
decibels,
that.
Isn't it?
I mean, Dakota's got kids that get up for school, and my daughter does too, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had a neighbor for a while that had a big diesel truck and he would
Oh.
start it and just sit
Well,
out
I
there.
know
and
they moved,
heard
they
it.
got signs over here by the park, the
Yeah.
semis aren't allowed to park there, but,
Yeah.
That was more for
Yeah.
picking up all the parking spots.
That's,
too.
so
yeah.
that was the ordinance for the noise too, running,
Yeah, they run all night long. and-
Yeah. but it's very annoying.
You know what? Could you, there's an app you could get for decibels. I mean, I don't know if it
Well,
would,
Shelby,
phone.
you tell Shelby to do it.
yeah.
Hey, could we have an officer stop?
Figure it out.
Your Honor, could we have an officer stop at the house and talk to the people? Maybe that's all it'll take, and they won't warm them up anymore.
I think we gotta have a formal complaint first to the police to for us to enable them to do that, but
I'll go I'll just put a note on the door. Out of
drive down there on
respect,
the way
your
home.
neighbors would like not to hear this through the night.
maybe they're nice people and they'll quit.
Like I said, it's a young couple,
Yeah.
and they
What street they located?
they live in the Habitat House across the street from me.
Okay.
Yeah. They may not be thinking second thing about
Yeah,
it.
some,
Well, they've lived there probably a year or so, and they've never said anything because they're getting out and,
They do it every day?
oh yeah.
What's their
every
car
day.
they drive, their
When they go to
primary
work.
car? When they get it?
They got one of those big old mufflers on it.
Yep, I know
But
the
they would
cars.
have to hear that noise in their
One of those
house,
cars
and
do
they gotta
make-
get it started.
You have to,
Drift cars, that's what they
Yeah,
are.
yeah, that's what I'll.
They get loud,
Note
yeah.
on the door.
Well, if that doesn't do it though, Connie, I mean, seriously, it would take as much as you, say, the next morning after it happens, call the police officer, file the complaint, okay? That way, they have it on record,
Okay,
okay? Then that way we can get then we can approach it.
Trouble with them, they are neighbors.
No, absolutely.
That
yeah.
is,
It's just a courtesy
it
thing.
wakes me up, and I don't have to get up early in the morning, but the kids,
You're rubbing it in?
every day Saturday.
All right. No, that's the way I would handle it. And then see what you get out of that.
Okay.
Any other comments? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the claims.
So moved, Mayor.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Motion to adjourn.
Sure? It's like a
This is the longest meeting we've had in 7 years. I'll tell you.
You're here. 2 hours, 20 minutes.
That's all you, Tony.
I'll move, Your Honor.
Second.
I'll second it, Mayor.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Goodness.
All right, I'm leaving.
Balls of fire.
Sign anything.
I gotta get.
Got as cute as many.